How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel where it's all about improving and becoming an awesome player. In this video, I'm going to cover offense in threes. I'll talk about how to position, who should go for what ball to minimize double commits, and how high-level plays rotate to keep the offensive pressure up. This video is a first of a series I'm going to do. First, we'll look at threes attacking, then threes defending, and repeat the same for twos and ones. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. I see a lot of people that can air dribble and flip reset, but have poor game sense. Skipping positional training is like skipping leg day, and everyone knows that you don't skip leg day. So let's get straight into it. Think of the map as a 4x4 grid, as it will make it a lot easier to understand the tactics I'm going to be showing. Here are some general rules to follow that will improve your positioning. First, try to have space between you and your teammates. You never want to have more than one person in the same zone. Look at this clip from a Platinum game where all three players of the orange team end up in one spot. If the ball gets hit towards the center or to their side, it can easily cost them a goal. This happens a lot in lower level games where players are inexperienced and dive in. It doesn't matter if you're attacking or defending, you need to give your teammates time and space. Wait for them to make a challenge or give them a second to rotate out. So what are the offensive positions in threes? First up is the attacker. He's the one who's on the ball going for a shot or trying to pass to his teammates. Second is the receiver, who's waiting for the ball to come into the middle where he can take a shot or stop any clearances. Third is the defender, also referred to as the last man. This is the most important position and the most difficult to play. The defender's job is to deal with big clearances and protect the goal. In threes, you always want one person on the ball, one waiting for a pass, and one covering the goal. The receiver and defender should always adapt their positions according to what the attacker is doing and how the opponents are going to challenge him. For example, if the attacker has decided to dribble on the ground and the opposition is challenging from the left, the impact of that challenge should hit the ball to the right side of the field so the defender can position a bit to the right. Likewise, if the opposition challenges from the right, then the ball will most likely go to the left, so the receiver and defender should start moving to the left before the challenge happens. Reading the play and adapting your position is a vital skill you need to constantly work on. You need to start predicting what's going to happen instead of just reacting to it. This is what takes your positioning to the next level. For example, in this clip, I see the ball come to my teammate who has no one challenging him, so instead of going back, I push up to an advanced position. I don't wait for him to pass, I start moving up before, and because of that, I get to the ball early and beat the defender. Now let's look at those positions in detail and some tips that will help you improve. Starting off with the attacker, your goal is to take a shot or pass the ball to your teammate in a way the opposition can't clear easily, as that could lead to a counterattack. I've noticed there's two things that high rank players do differently than low rank players. First up is passing. 75% of the time, low ranks go for goal while high ranks go for passes. Let me repeat that again since it's important. Low rank players prioritize trying to score goals, but if you want to rank up, you need to prioritize passing. In threes, there's always 2 or 3 defenders in goal, so it's difficult to score from a direct shot. So instead, try passing from the back wall or an infield pass. The second thing is not using the wall enough. If you want to rank up, you need to be confident in taking the ball up the wall. There's nothing wrong with ground dribbling, but you definitely want to practice wall plays to increase your attacking options. I'll go through some attacking methods you can use. Beginners usually just take the ball around the wall, which actually does work at the lower ranks because players aren't as good at defending the back wall. But as you come up against better players, that won't work. So instead, you need to start popping the ball off the wall. When you pop it off, you've got a lot more ways to manipulate the ball. You can take a direct shot, you can hit it at the back wall, or hit it down directly towards your teammate. Eventually, as you go higher up the ranks, the smarter you'll need to be. People will start reading basic passes and shots, so you'll need to be more creative and precise. This is where advanced mechanics like air dribbles, double touches, and ceiling shots really come in handy. But do use them wisely, as you want to be passing more than going for goal. You also need to think about where your teammates and the opponents are positioned. For example, in this clip, I see the defender on the wall. So instead of going for a back wall pass, I took a direct shot and caught them by surprise. If they're constantly defending the back wall, go for an infield pass. Infield passes are simple but extremely effective. You can pass it using a power hit, a flick, or off the wall, but just make sure you're hitting it more towards your teammates instead of the opponents. Now let's talk about the receiver. The receiver's main priorities are to be in space for a pass and create opportunity for the attacker. You need to be keeping an eye on how the attacker is doing his play. If he's going around the wall slowly with low boost, you should get a little bit closer as you won't be able to hit the ball as far. And likewise, if he's going to hit the ball hard, you need to be further back so the ball doesn't go over you. It's also important to be facing the ball so when you have to aerial, it'll be a lot quicker and you won't waste time turning around. If the ball is coming to you lower to the ground, don't double jump. Instead, save your second jump and flip into the ball to generate a lot more power. You can also create opportunities for your teammates. If the attacker is going for a direct shot, then you could try to bump or demo a defender. Also, if the attacker has space to dribble or take the ball up the wall and there's no one challenging him, then you can position more further up, allowing him to make a forward pass the same way I did in this example. It's important as the receiver that you don't sacrifice your position doing bad challenges. You should always challenge the balls that you can get a little bit of touch on to stop clearances. But for example, if the attacker goes for a backwall pass, I see a lot of lower ranked players that pre-jump to predict the rebound. But most of the time, they don't have the skill to do so, or there's already a defender on the back wall ready to clear. You'll obviously get beaten, so instead be ready to rotate. Another example, if the attacker is going to get beaten to a ball, there's no point of you moving up to an aggressive position, as that just leaves your defender on his own. You need to always pay attention to who's going to win the ball and adapt your position accordingly. Now let's move on to the defender. This is the hardest position to play and the one beginners struggle with the most. His first priority is to defend the goal. If the ball gets cleared, he's the one to deal with it. Now you might be wondering, if the defender needs to protect the goal, why isn't he just positioned inside it? Well, that's because his second objective, which is almost as important, is to keep the offensive pressure up. Like they say, sometimes the best defense is offense. If he's all the way at the back, he won't be able to deal with the balls that come to the middle, which could give his opponents time to counterattack. I recommend to try and position around the highlighted zone. You won't always make it to this position as the play changes extremely quickly, but it's a good target to have. If the attacker gets beaten and the ball comes along the wall, you're close enough to deal with it. Don't position right next to the wall though. If the ball gets hit directly towards goal, you won't be able to save it, so stay around the center. The way you face your car is also important. If you think the opposition is going to clear it, start turning around before he hits it, as you'll be able to make it back much faster. You don't want to challenge every single ball. Being able to judge when to go in for a challenge or back off as the last man is a skill that you need to constantly improve on. I usually wait until I can see that one of my teammates is rotating back, then I'll go in for a challenge. It's important to buy your teammates some time to actually rotate before you push up. If the ball does come to you, try not to just pass it back to the opposition. Instead, passing to your teammate in the receiver position is a lot more effective. What you want to avoid is those weak hits that roll across the ground, as they're easy to intercept. Hitting the ball up high and with power makes it much harder for the opposition to defend. You'll also need to be careful that you don't creep up. Sometimes if the ball's in the corner, you start moving forward unknowingly and can be caught out of position. Now it's time to look at rotations. They aren't as complicated as you think. In fact, if you position the way I've shown in this video, you only need to follow one single rule. The attacker should always rotate to the defender position once he does his play. Let me show you what I mean with some examples. Say the attacker manages to hit the ball at the back wall for a pass, then he needs to rotate to the defender position. The receiver then becomes the attacker as he's on the ball now, and the defender moves up into the receiver position. And you've just completed a rotation, and you repeat the same steps. Whoever becomes the new attacker does his play and rotates out. As you rotate out, you should try to grab the mid boost. If it spawns and your team keep the ball in the opposition's half, then you're instantly ready to aerial and keep the offensive pressure up. Obviously, if they clear it out, then you go all the way back. If the boost doesn't spawn, you'll be forced to grab the back corner boost, which isn't entirely bad, but if you want to keep the pressure up like high-level players, then you need to start grabbing those small boost pads. Even if you manage to get 50 boost, you can still stay up and aerial for most balls. Try to get in the habit of going over these small boost pads as you're moving around the field. They can be a lifesaver in both attack and defense. If you don't know who should go in for the ball, generally any ball that goes to the blue zone, the receiver deals with. And if it stays on the attacker's side, then it's the defender's job to deal with. He'll also deal with any ball that gets cleared to the back. There's a little bit of an area around the near post that can confuse people as they don't know who should challenge. Sometimes no one does, and sometimes both the receiver and defender commit. From the defender's perspective, you want to look at where the receiver is before deciding. If he's facing the ball and is closer to it, then let him challenge. If he's driving away and the ball's bounced hard against the wall, then the defender can challenge. If the ball stays close to the back wall, then the defender should stay back as the opposition will clear it. Also, the receiver should never cut across the field to challenge. Instead, it's better to allow the defender to push up while the receiver rotates if needed. I'll go over some more scenarios so you have a clear idea of what to do in different situations. We've already gone through what to do if the attacker manages to pass the ball. Now imagine if the defenders clear the ball across. Then it's the receiver who should deal with it as he is the closest. The defender should start moving to the center to wait for a pass, while the first attacker should rotate out to become the third man. Next, imagine the opposition beats the attacker and the ball comes down the line. If the ball is easy to deal with, then the defender can hit it back to the receiver, dribble it, or take it up the wall. The attacker should start rotating out and allow his teammates to push up. And it's the same idea. Try to grab the closest mid-boost and take the defender's position. The receiver can stay where he is because the attacker is going back. And we've just completed a rotation as we're back to the starting position. You just repeat the steps and keep rotating. The biggest mistake with rotations is double commits, and they happen for two reasons. First up is when the ball lands in between two players and they both end up challenging. Second is when someone cuts a rotation and turns to tug the ball. Double commits can cost you goals, so here are a couple of tips to prevent them. First, you need to use your camera to check where teammates are, especially if you're solo queuing. Just a quick flick to check if they're going for the ball or not can prevent a lot of double commits. Your teammate might not see you go for the ball, but if you can see him in front of you, then you should be the one to back off as he has no idea you're there. You should use the same rule when you cut rotations. Sometimes the attacker might stay up if the ball comes back to his corner, and instead of rotating out, he can cut his rotation and tack the ball again if he has the boost. The problem is that the defender might expect him to rotate out and come into the corner himself. To prevent this, the defender should be the one backing off as he can see the attacker in his line of sight. Also, the attacker can turn off his ball cam to look down the line and see what the defender is doing. If he's all the way at the back, the attacker should turn and challenge to force the opposition to make a move. If the defender is close and about to challenge, the attacker should carry on rotating out. You can cut rotations whenever there's an opportunity to do so. If your teammates are far back, you should turn and challenge, as not only does it disrupt the opponent's play, but it saves your teammate from having to waste boost just to close down the gap. And if you get a good challenge, your team can follow up. Now, I can't cover every detail and scenario about attacking because we'll be here for hours, but I hope this video has helped you get a better idea of how to improve your offensive play. Try to apply these tactics the next time you're on, and you'll see a lot more structure in your game. In the next video, I'm going to go through threes defense in the same manner I did here, and you'll have a complete understanding of how to position and rotate in threes. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, drop a comment below if you have more tips of your own, and don't forget to subscribe if you're looking to improve on Rocket League. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.